I'll go get it.
Good evening. The Rio Rancho Public Schools Board of Education meeting for Monday, June 26 is now called to order. If all would please arise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Noreen Scott will start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kim, can you take a roll call for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. President Galbraith.
Present.
Vice President Morgan.
Present.
Secretary Scott.
Present.
Board Member Tripp.
Present.
And Board Member Tyler.
Present.
You have a quorum with all 5 members present.
Okay, thank you so much. I'd like to welcome everyone to our board meeting tonight. I see we have some students in the back, which is always wonderful for our meetings. And we'll go ahead and get started with some comments from our superintendent, Dr. Visu Cleveland.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us this evening. We have had a lot going on this summer, a lot of summer projects. We have now just 1 month left to complete our facilities and IT summer projects. The cutting of 1 month out of the calendar year has been going for, that's been happening for now several years. We're officially now down to 2 months. So the first month is gone. The board was sent a detailed list of all the projects that are going on, both in terms of facilities and IT. If you have any questions about those projects, we'd be very happy to answer those. Our teachers return on July 31st, so we are really feeling the crunch to get things done before they do return. Unfortunately, some of the projects may not be completed before July 31st, but the majority we anticipate being able to conclude and wrap up. Summer schools have also been underway, which complicates the facilities and the IT projects. We have 45 high school students who completed their first session at Independence High School, and 63 high school students are registered for the second session. We have 63 sixth graders and a little more than 60 seventh graders who have completed summer school, and 48 eighth graders are registered for the second. We have 95 elementary school students who attended summer school this year. So more than 420 students were enrolled in credit recovery classes in the first summer session, and enrollment in the second session is 326. So it just gives you an idea of all of the things that have been going on across the district. And the time crunch is not only for facilities and IT, but also for students who need to get their credit recovery or courses made up. It's a real push. We have some wonderful commendations this evening. Bruce Carver, our Executive Director for Athletics, will present 3 commendations this evening. The first is for Representative Joshua Hernandez and City Councilor Bob Tyler, who will be recognized for their efforts in providing funding for baseball scoreboards for both Rio Rancho and Cleveland high schools. We'll tell you both were in desperate need of replacement, and this supplemental funding will be a tremendous help in getting that job done. The one at Cleveland's been a challenge from the very beginning. You can't see it, you can't read it, and so hopefully there can be some adjusting. And certainly the quality of the boards are far better than they were 10 years ago. So again, we thank you both for your support and helping us get that done. We have 2 recognitions also for state championships. And the first is to Rio Rancho High School, Coach Ron Murphy and his coaching staff. This will be their 4th. This is their 4th state championship. And so we want to congratulate them and recognize them this evening. And then the Cleveland boys track team are the 5A state champions for track. Congratulations again to all of the athletes and to Coach Henry and his coaching staff. And this was their 6th state championship. They have done amazing work. And so congratulations to all of our teams and the coaching staff. This will be a wonderful presentation for Bruce Carver to make. This is his last board meeting before he retires. And I want to thank him again for all of the work he's done, the district level, to help sustain our quality programs and his personal commitment and leadership. Last week at the Rio Rancho Regional Chamber of Commerce quarterly meeting, P&M provided different businesses and organizations with their Fuel Efficiency Energy Award. And Mike Baker, our Chief Operations Officer, and Patrick Martinez, our Executive Director of Facilities, will speak with the board about this important recognition. As you well know, and you certainly have given us direction in the past, we are working on improving our energy conservation efforts. And so we even plan to bring someone on to coordinate this effort. We believe this effort will be a money-saving effort for our district. We think that the savings can be generated if we pay very careful attention to our utilities, and maybe more importantly, we change our behaviors regarding our usage of utilities, of our water, and obviously electricity, gas. So we are giving a lot of thought to that. I'm sure every one of you have seen at home bills go up in that area. And we have seen our bills in the district increase dramatically. So we're really going to redouble our efforts to be as cost effective as we can be with regards to those expenditures. Again, this is a picture of the Rams. Congratulations. And Bruce will share some information when he comes up. And the Cleveland boys track team. So again, it was tremendous competition this year, and it's wonderful when our teams come out on top. The board had asked for a staffing update. Mike Baker will be presenting the staffing update because it primarily involves new positions for the 2023-2024 school year. And so we did provide this information to the board as part of the budget process, but we've had some additional questions regarding new positions. So we really hope that that presentation will clarify that information and answer some of the questions that you may have. We certainly have emphasized this year in our budget on providing support to the schools. And hopefully you see that in the budget. That's where the priority has been. And we have made some tremendous gains this year in providing support for our schools. We have a couple of very important resolutions this evening. You're being asked to consider the approval of two important resolutions that are related to the upcoming election in November. And Lauren Hatch, who is our chief counsel, and Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets will discuss the election and its importance to RRPS and what we need to do to be ready for that. The first is a resolution and proclamation of the school district school bond elections. And this election, of course, provides our ongoing funding for improving school facilities, and that takes place every 4 years. You know, I guess every time we have a bond election, it's the same conversation we always have, but we have desperate needs in the school district, and we have worked very hard to maintain our tax rate throughout the history of the school district. We really do need people to come out and help and support this so that we can provide the facilities that our students need. We continue to have some overcrowded conditions, and we have some new needs that we need to address with our students. And so this, like all of the other elections, will be a very important election in November. And the second resolution is a resolution and proclamation of the Special Public School Capital Improvements tax election, which is generally known as SB 9 funding. And this is equally important because this is the money that supports the maintenance in our schools. We have air conditioners go out. We have other kinds of major needs. This is one of the ways we help pay for that. It also, though, what a lot of people don't know, supports other program needs. For example, over the years, it's helped us with fine arts instrument repair and many other programmatic needs. So it's both maintenance, but it also impacts our programs in the district. We have some policy changes proposed for tonight. Sherry Carver, our Executive Director for Student Services, will present two proposals for policy changes for both Policy 1003 and 1015. You will be asked to consider these proposed changes Open enrollment is one of the proposed changes, and there's some cleanup that we need to do in that. A lot of people don't know that the Open Enrollment Act is a statutory requirement for all districts, and we must comply with that when people apply to our district or to changing schools within the district. It's an important document. This is the second reading, and therefore the board will be asked to actually vote on the changes. You will be asked to consider changes to policy 1015, which is immunizations, but this is a first reading, and therefore the board can discuss it, but no action can be taken at this meeting. Will come up at the next board meeting. And then Noel Casares, Director of Student Services, will present proposed changes to policy 903, which is student and staff health and wellness. And this is a first reading, and so no action can be taken by the board this evening. We have an important milestone with regards to the CTE facility. The board will be asked to look at bids and award a contract manager at risk, RFP. The information for this proposed award will be presented by Michael Madrid, Purchasing Director, and Patrick Martinez, Executive Director of Facilities. We had good response to the bid, the RFP, and we interviewed 3 finalists. And the process and results will be presented to the board this evening. This really is an important step in getting the CTE facility open. However, I wanted to certainly emphasize this is not the selection of the contractor for the project. The CMAR is responsible for the value engineering of the project. And so, as you know, the architect does their work, does the design, and then the role that this position has is to go through that and see if we are maximizing our funding for the project, if there's some areas where we might consider some changes, if there are better ways of accomplishing the same goal. We have another amendment to the SFE food services contract. I had one of the board members ask me about, we've had a lot of amendments. What I would like you to know is that this particular one is to establish the meal costs for the next school year, and that this is something that's required by the New Mexico Public Education Department, School Nutrition Department. So something that we are required to do every year. Michael Madrid, Purchasing Director, and David Vigil, our Executive Director of Finance, will present the information and answer any questions that you may have. Yes, all public school students will be receiving free meals for the 2023-2024 school year per legislative changes that were passed this past session. It's really important to note, though, that this is for those who sign up, and that the signing up for the lunch program will be extremely important if we're able to provide the services that so many of our kids need. So encourage everyone to sign up that may qualify for any kind of meal assistance. Helps everyone and helps all of our students across the district. We have the IDA application. This, of course, is the Individuals with Disability Education Act. It's an application for funding. This funding does provide a significant amount of support to our students who have disabilities, and it supplements funding that is provided by the state and districts. And we cannot supplant with that funding things that we are regularly required to do for all students. So sometimes I think that's a misunderstanding that people have. They think IDA pays for all of special education. That is not the case at all. And there are very stringent guidelines and high level of accountability for using IDA funds. And again, it does not even begin to cover all of the programmatic costs for our programs for students with disabilities. That being said, it is an important addition, and we are grateful for the funding that we do receive, because that allows us to do extra things for our kids we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And then I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from the board?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Questions? Okay. Oh, Jessica, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to say, I failed to recognize we have Bob Tyler here, one of our city councilors. In just a moment, he's going to be up and walking in any minute. I believe we'll have Joshua Hernandez. He's like coming in right now. So we want to recognize that they're both here with us tonight, and we're grateful for them being here with us. So we'll go to approve the prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations. I have a motion.
Board Member Gary Tripp, I make a recommendation that we pass the prioritized agenda.
It's Board Member Jeff Morgan, a second.
Okay.
Got it.
Got it. I have a motion by Gary Tripp and a second by Jeff Morgan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, going into comments online, but both are appreciated. Okay. Moving, you made it. Just barely. I announced you were here. So, all right, moving into our commendations. So for our commendations, our first commendation is for the baseball scoreboards for Rio Rancho High School and Cleveland High School, from Representative Joshua Hernandez and our City Councilor Bob Tyler, and Bruce Carver, our Executive Director of Athletics, will present this.
Good evening, President Galbraith, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. I want to recognize a couple of individuals who made a major contribution to Rio Rancho Public Schools. If I could have Councilman Tyler and Representative Hernandez come on up this time, I would appreciate it. I'll start with this. Bob. I'm going to have a hard time calling him councilman, so please, I'm so used to Bob, I'm going to go with that, okay? I had a conversation with Bob over a year ago, and we talked about Cleveland needed a scoreboard, and we both agreed on that we did need a scoreboard. And you can barely see it, long overdue. Anyway, he said, let me try to see if I can get the legislature involved to get us some money for that scoreboard. And I said, that would be great, because I can concentrate on Rio Rancho High School, who also needs a scoreboard very badly. And it's going to be very hard for me to come up with both scoreboards, the money in our budget. So that would be great. I felt a lot of pressure had gone off. And then Bob said, let's get it for both of them. Let's go for it. Let's go ahead and do both. And man, I really appreciated that, because you don't get this type of effort that often. Bob is a Cleveland High School baseball parent. Son played baseball, did a great job over there, and this kind of effort to help both high schools. So I really appreciated that, and a big thank you to Bob for that, for sure. And then this guy made it happen. I appreciate Representative Hernandez and his efforts to secure $60,000 for 2 brand new scoreboards for Rio Rancho High School baseball and Cleveland High School baseball, and really excited about that. So we're hoping when baseball starts, Todd, the new district athletic director, is going to have a recognition, and he's going to have a recognition and recognize these guys and the board. We're going to open up the season next year with that, and I hope to be there, so that'll be exciting. So officially, on behalf of Rio Rancho Public School Athletics, I want to give a huge thank you for this huge contribution and the loyalty to Rio Rancho Public Schools District to do this for us. So
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, members of the board. I'll keep it brief. This is something very small that will affect so many students, and I'm glad that Bob reached out, and I can't wait to see him. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'll go even shorter. But you know what? It's an awesome opportunity to be able to help both schools. When you look at Rio Rancho School Board, Cleveland School Board, they both needed some love. And, I really want to thank Josh, because in Rio Rancho, we're really lucky to have city council, school board, and a legislator that all works well together. Anyone here can call us, we can call each other, and we're able to work together and actually solve some of the problems for Rio Rancho. And to be able to reach out to Josh and say, hey, what do you think about this? And for him to be like, yeah, let's go for it. I mean, that's really something special. A lot of folks don't understand how great that is. So I want to thank Josh for helping me be successful in helping Bruce and the school district and getting what they want. And again, I'd love to continue this and do what we can always for the schools. So let's look forward to the next project. I wish we could have the scoreboard this year for the state playoffs and all that stuff. It would look really cool, but next year. Yeah. I'm sure one of our teams will be there next year. So thank you.
Yeah, come back. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I want to second what Councilman Tyler said. I think one of the biggest comeaways from being on the board is getting to meet all of our representatives, both in the state and then our city, and that they're just people and that they want to improve our area. And so truly, when they say just come and talk to us, I really just go and talk to them, and they will do their best. And I've seen that over the years, that you have really done your best, and you've really, really helped Rancho Public Schools. So we're so very grateful for this little thing, and also for all the things that you guys have done for us over the years. So Noreen Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you for the partnership with the city of Rio Rancho and with our state legislature. And thank you both for your service. You put in a lot of hours to make things better for all of us, and we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else, Gary, if you want to say anything?
I want to say thank you to Bob and to Josh. I just want to say thank you on behalf of doing something for our kids, but more importantly, thank you for saying it every year. And I really do appreciate, on behalf of the board and myself, thank you for the kids. Thank you.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to say thanks. Appreciate it.
And I would add to that, these two gentlemen just continue, as Noreen said, to work to make things better in our community. And they take the time and the effort, and they have just, they show strong evidence they really care about our students and want to make this a better place for them. And so we are so grateful for your commitment and for your willingness to step up and help us with things that we really struggle to be able to do on our own. So again, thank you so much on behalf of the district.
Yeah, thank you. And Board Member Tyler, if you want to say anything, you're welcome to.
Of course. Well, I gotta, I guess, give a shout out to my husband and of course Josh. So yeah, we're a year late to be able to watch our son play with the new scoreboard, but it'll motivate us to go back out there and still support the teams. And it's a great thing, like everybody has said, for all of us to work together. And that's really, necessary, but also so much more effective when we can all work together to better serve our community and our students. So thank you to both Josh and Paul.
All right. Thank you. Thank you once again for being here. Just one more applause. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we'll turn it back over to Bruce Carver for the Rio Rancho High School baseball team state championship.
It's truly an honor to be up here this evening to recognize two of our teams that won state championships, the Rio Rancho High School baseball team and the Cleveland High School boys track team. This is my last time to make a presentation up here, and it's so memorable to have these two outstanding programs and two coaches, head coaches that I've worked closely with for many, many years. Makes it even more meaningful, and I think both these guys will be in the Coaches Hall of Fame. You can bet on it. Both these guys will be in the Coaches Hall of Fame eventually. So that makes it even more special. But winning state championships it's a truly special achievement for the athletes, for the coaching staff, for the parents, and for the entire community. State championships are special. I'm going to start off with the Rio Rancho baseball team. They had a season for the ages, 27 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. Pretty weird to get 2 ties, but the El Paso tournament, For time limitations, they ended in ties. This is the first time that we won all four tournaments that we were in. Rio Rancho baseball team, they won all 4 tournaments. First time that's happened. They were balanced in all areas: pitching, hitting, defense, all facets of the game. They won a lot of games by large margins, and then they won several very close games. And they found ways to win these close games in different ways. This is what championship teams do. They find ways to win close games. This was Rio Rancho's 4th state championship in baseball. And, we're so fortunate to have a heck of a head baseball coach. He's a heck of a baseball coach in Ron Murphy. There's no doubt about it. And there is a reason he's the winningest high school baseball coach in the history of the state of New Mexico. And he's one of ours. We're so proud of him. I want to turn this over to head coach Ron Murphy.
Well, thank you, Bruce. I told Bruce before I wanted to hire him as my freshman baseball coach next year. I don't know if Sherry would go for that. First of all, thank you to the school board for recognizing our baseball program. Before we go there, a special shout out to Mr. Tripp. Me and Gary went back and played against each other baseball. And Moriarty, we played some tournaments against each other. Then when I was at Sandia, we coached against each other. Him at Moriarty, me at Sandia. And then he followed me to Rio Rancho to become principal. Then he went to NMAA to be the head guy. So he's been stalking me for years. So, but I love Mr. Tripp. I'll throw this plate together. And what a great person to have on the school board along with the rest of you. So love to see you, Gary. Shout out to my coaches that are here. A lot of them are out of town tonight. Mike Forsythe, stand up, please, Mike. Mike is one of our local vet guys, amazing. And he also rides in helicopters and shoots animals to replace them all over the state for the government. Richard Chavez, stand up, please. I hired Richard 25 years ago to be head baseball coach at Eagle Ridge Middle School. And I don't know why, but he's still with me. And I love him to death, his family. And Coach Gomez can't be here tonight. He's traveling, getting back off the road. Coach Gomez used to be head baseball coach at Eastern New Mexico University. And so how blessed am I to have him on my staff. His wife is also the head volleyball coach at Cleveland High School. So a good RRPS connection there. Gino Satriani, you guys know him, the union guy. All right. He's in Jamaica getting married. So he decided that was the priority instead of being here tonight. So, and then Coach Lacombe, another person who's been with us for 25 years. His first sport was playing on our original team. Now he's come back as an extra player to be on our coaching staff. So obviously I'm blessed with a really good coaching staff. All right. I want to go over just a couple of quick highlights about our year. What I'd like to do first is our mission statement for baseball. It is to make our players better people on and off the field. Academics is a high priority in our baseball program. Recap of our season, Bruce went over a little bit. We have 20 players on our varsity team, 11 seniors, 9 returning 11. We're excited about the kids coming back next year. We won our bracket in the Las Cruces tournament, 18. We won the APS Metro tournament, 16 teams. We won the South Fuentes tournament, 8 teams. We took first in our district. We were ranked #1 in the state most of the year. Recently, we were ranked 23rd in the nation by Max Preps. Last week, we were ranked #1 in the state baseball programs by Perfect Game. Here's one I'm really proud of. For the 3rd year in a row, we received the National Award of Excellence for Academics by the American Baseball Coaches Association. You got to have a 3.5 or better on your varsity team. And us at San Diego High School, 2 New Mexico high schools that were recognized for that. We completed 12 community service projects this year. 4 by our C team, 4 by KB, and 4 by our varsity. What they were working in senior citizens' houses, pulling weeds, painting, fixing doors, whatever they need. Sorry, my throat's a little dry here. We seem to be the team everybody calls when somebody needs help at their house, and we love it. It's been a pleasure. We got to meet some elderly people, some veterans, disabled, and our kids communicating with them has been tremendous. We attended the Rio Rancho Elementary School for ESPN presentation, and we go to Ernest Stapleton and read to their classrooms. We work many baseball camps mentoring young kids. Rowdy Duran was one of our baseball players, Alex Pacheco. Alex has just recently accepted a presidential scholarship to attend Texas Tech. All right. We also have a junior who just accepted to go play at Air Force Academy. So we collect tons of food for our Halloween game that we give to the Fields Pantry. And our Rio Rancho Police Department toy drive, which our baseball program started about 10 years ago. And now the athletic department has joined in. Our baseball program donated over 250 toys to the Christmas party. So like I said, our goal is to make our players better on and off the field. And I'm really proud that our players do that. Thank you for tonight. Most of all, I forgot one thing, a couple of things. Dr. Cleveland, you're amazing. You really are. Not just for athletics. I'm a teacher here too. And what you do and what you've done and the pride and loyalty you bring to all of us, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Bob Tyler and Josh Hernandez, thank you for the new scoreboard. We've had ours for 23 years, so we're ready for a new one. Gary Herron ain't here tonight, but we'd like to thank Gary for always supporting us in the paper. I'd really like to thank our administration and staff at Rio Rancho High School. Second to none. We love Mr. Keller and everybody else. The one thing, there is a third policy change for Mrs. Carter. All right, Sherry, we talked about it. It's a to-do list. All right, she's gonna have a guy home a lot more starting Friday. So the next policy change she had to do with her husband, and he's gonna have a lot more to do. Bruce Charlie, you've been amazing as a boss and as a friend. Thank you for everything you've done.
I feel like Gary Tripp should represent us in saying some words there. You want
I'll kick this off, but the stat I had about Ron Murphy is it was real simple when he was talking. I don't know how many years we coached against each other, but I was 0 for something like 30. And so I think he 10-run ruled my teams about half the time, 15 times out of those 30. And so I do need to stock him because you only learn from the very best. But as good as he is as a baseball coach, he's a better husband, father, person, leader in our community. Ron, congratulations. Thanks for everything. Keep it going, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for your accomplishments and more importantly, the impact that you're making on with our young men. So thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that.
Good.
Coach Murphy, you coached my nephews, and they've gone on to have very good careers, as have many of your students. And I think that is one of the keys to your success, is you've been able to help kids move forward, not just academically and not just on the field, but in their lives. And thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you. Jessica Tyler, did you want to say anything?
Just want to tell Coach and all the boys, congratulations, great job. And you guys always do a great job of representing our district and our city. And happy that you guys brought home the state championship since Cleveland didn't win.
Cleveland mama. Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do. I've been watching the team in the newspaper and just really enjoying. I teach a couple of baseball students, not from our district, but just really, really a great job, and just So really a testament to you and your love for the game and love for the boys that you have with you. So Dr. Cleveland.
Congratulations. And I've seen all 4 of those state championships. I haven't missed a one. And everyone has been exciting. And congratulations, particularly on this one. It was just such an exciting game. And it was just great to see your team pull it out and take that championship again. But I want to emphasize one of the things that you shared in the presentation, and that is the amount that you've given back to the community over the years. And it's been noted and it's been appreciated, and that has made a difference. And I think it has spoke just volumes about Rio Rancho High School. And so again, thank you for all of the people in this community you've stepped forward and helped over the years.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll turn it back to Bruce Carver for our next.
Cleveland boys track won the state championship by over 35 points this year. And one of the few times I'll ever correct Dr. Cleveland, it was their 7th straight state.
Oh, I apologize.
And it was their 10th in the last 11 years.
Well, I'm very glad to be proven wrong. Fine with that.
Our Cleveland boys track program is a powerhouse in the world of track and field, not only in the state of New Mexico, but in the United States. And that is no exaggeration. This program is a dynasty. They have a dynasty going. And yes, they have outstanding athletes. They have an outstanding coaching staff. But one thing that I've noticed down through the years is they always have student athletes stepping up who might not have even ran track before. All of a sudden they're scoring points and you're going, how did that happen? Or they move somebody from a running event to start throwing and they're winning the throwing event and they've never thrown. Things like this happen. I'm not kidding you. It's just been amazing to watch this kind of thing. This is what championship teams do. This is what they do. Just amazing. Coach Kenny Henry is truly an amazing coach. We're so lucky to have him with us, and I'm so lucky to have been able to work with Coach Henry. At this time, Cleveland High School boys track coach Kenny Henry.
You know him too. You know him too.
Thank you again for having us. Have a few guys that I brought with me today that I want to brag about a little bit if I can. But, we are definitely proud of our team, proud of their accomplishments, not only this year, but over the past handful of years, and to be able to have the titles that we have. One of the things about track and field is it's not a highly known sport. I mean, you might watch the Olympics and you see these exceptional athletes, but when it comes to track and field, especially the team aspect of it, I think a lot of people don't quite understand how it goes. Again, if we all went to a track meet, you'd see some pretty exceptional kids doing what they do. Here's a kid, he's just really fast. He's going to win when he gets on the track. Or some kid who can just throw the heck out of the shot put and he's going to win every time he gets in there. And it's awesome to have those types of kids on your team, which we've been blessed to have some of those too, but they make up a small portion of what you have to win as a team. And if you don't have some other people that find a way to contribute, even with a few of those exceptional athletes, you just won't find a way to bring home that blue trophy. And so I have a few guys here whose story, I think, at least for a couple of them, didn't follow that. I was just exceptional to start off with, and they had to do a lot of work to get here. And I'm going to get emotional, I'll tell you, talking about it. But the first guy I want to talk to you about is Caden Nunn in the blue here. Now, he is one of these guys that was kind of exceptional right off the bat. He, as a sophomore even, and these guys didn't get to have freshman track seasons because of COVID, but right away as a sophomore, this guy was one of the best 800 runners in the state, and his success just continued to grow. Got to this year, his senior year, and everything we worked for was he was going to be the state champion in the 800, which to be an individual state champion is very, very difficult. And unfortunately, he narrowly missed it on the finals of the state meet. All right, not to bring up a sore spot, but it's important to know at that moment he was pretty beat down. You know, he again, 4 years you work for something, don't quite get it, and you'd like to just go crawl off in a hole and die somewhere, but this guy had some other things he had to do for us, and so he has to kind of throw that, you know, disappointment aside, you know, muster up the strength to come back, and he anchored a relay for us that won. And huge for us to get, as a team, 10 huge points. And so for him to be able to do that and to see the excitement in his face when he did win the medley relay, again, you can't win as a team without people like that. So that's one of our stories. All right, Eli Griego right here next to me. Okay, a little bit different than Caden. This guy, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but as a freshman, this guy could barely run. He looked like a baby hurt, sick giraffe when he ran, literally. But, you know, this guy continued to work, got stronger. And we fast forward to this year, and he is a scorer in the 110 hurdles. He puts himself in a position to maybe win 300 hurdles. And again, if you would have told me that 4 years ago, I would have laughed. But sure enough, here he is in the finals of the state meet trying to win the 300 hurdles. And again, when I say narrowly, I mean as narrow as it can. He gets caught at the line and gets second. Okay, still a huge feat for somebody to go from where he did to that. But again, a little bit disappointing in that moment, but the guy's able to kind of throw that aside, and then he anchored he ran a leg on our 4x400 meter relay about an hour later that won, and kind of put icing on the top of our cake for the state meet. All right, so again, our team can't do what it does without guys who are willing to work for 4 years to be in a position like he did. All right, and then Landon Stewart in the middle here, maybe the most dynamic portion of what I'm talking about. Okay, again, this guy, really, if I don't want to exaggerate it, but pretty much had to work for 4 years to just even make our varsity team, which he did this year as a sprinter, and he did an unbelievable job contributing to our team all season long. Even was able to be district champion in the 200 meters this year. He just ran so well. He did so much that we elected to run him in 3 different relays at the state meet. Now, the state meet is over 2 days. Each of them, you know, we're talking about 8 hours of competition both days. So a lot happens within that time frame. But after that first day, we were a little concerned about Landon. He was limping a little bit. He had something bothering him. And so we had to make a very difficult decision to not run him in 2 of those relays that he had earned, that he had already run the prelims in. And it was a very difficult decision to make, and even harder to look at him and say, look, Landon, we're not going to run you in the finals of these events. And you could see it in his face. The guy was hurt, to say the least, but he didn't cry about it. He didn't throw a fit about it. He didn't say 2 words about it. He just kind of put his head down, accepted it as probably the best for our team. But he did come back and run the medley relay, which we won. He was able to get on the podium as a state champion.
Nice.
But people don't know those are the things that happen during the course of a track meet, and what happens to these guys over 4 years. And there's no way our team wins the state championship without a guy like this. So, you know, I brought 3 guys with me. All of them were seniors, so they're moving on. But these 3 kind of embody what our team is about and what our sport is about, and that we hope and pray our athletes, talented or not, will be for us and for our program. So again, thank you for having us tonight. I'm sorry I get emotional talking about these guys, but they're my dudes, to say the least. So thank you very much. Thank you guys for coming. Mr. Carver, thank you for everything. Thank you guys.
Thank you. I feel like sometimes that Coach Henry should just be a part of our board because he's in here so often with us. And so we love having him in here. And thank you guys for coming in. Track and field, I have a love-hate relationship with because I love watching everyone run. I love it. But it's such a long day. And when he talks about those 8-hour days, like it is no joke. It is a long, long day for these boys. And to watch how well your team did this year, you guys really, and I love hearing all the relays because honestly, you guys wouldn't have made it like without those relays. Those relays are huge. Like you guys you did an amazing job this year. And so congratulations for all of the hard work and working through the injuries and the time and all those things. And a shout out to our coaches for track and field too, because it's not just varsity, it's JV and all of the other meets. And it's just, I feel for them because it's a long time and for their families too, because you're away from your families for a good amount of time there too. So thank you guys so much for what you do. It's a lot of work. So thank you.
I hope the young men don't mind standing up. You can yell from the back. I kind of like you to introduce yourself and let us know what the future holds for you guys, what you're gonna do. But you know what? It's pretty special to have a state champion. I'm kind of honored that a state champion would take time out, come and talk to a bunch of old people, in a room. But
yeah, I'm the guy that pulled up relays. I don't know. It's a lot about hard work, and sometimes it's about the team winning them well. When I was told like, hey, you can't run these relays, I felt, like Coach said, finding a hole to cry in. But I'm like, the team can't see that. They need to be strong. So I should pick my teammates, wish them the best of luck. And I honestly did. And I didn't feel any like bitterness against the coaches and players who had my place in that relay. And I loved watching my teammates run. A little bit envious, I'll admit, but as long as it was better for the team, and I appreciate the coaches. I don't say often enough how much I appreciate the coaches in my life. They change your life. You have to be in a sport like that pushes you and makes you hard to really understand the appreciation of work and dedication. And these coaches understand it, and it's so beautiful how it changes a person from maybe you're nervous to even get on the track than to excited to compete. And you look for different opportunities, just what these coaches say. They inspire you every day. You want to make them happy. You want to make them proud, and it's changed my life. I'm happy to say that it's made me want to pursue a greater meaning in life. I'm going into the arts and film, and I want to try to put that kind of inspiration into other people's lives, and that's what the coaches have. So I really want to make them proud in the future. I'm going to the University of Mexico. Got to represent. Love those. Yeah, best school or best university in the state. Anyone else is different, it's I'm Caden. I run the 800. I guess I was good enough to get a scholarship to go run at Lubbock Christian University in Texas. If you guys know where that is, it's kind of like the baby little cousin of Texas Tech. But yeah, I'm going down there. I'm going to study biochemistry because I want to be a doctor. But kind of what Landon is saying, I never would have even tried to run in college or even compete at the collegiate level without coaches. I mean, when I was a freshman, I was just a slow guy who came on and, just tried my best. And I never thought in a million years I'd be able to be good enough to even be at the state level or really even go to college. My main concern was just trying to raise my teammates, beat them every single day. So I just wanted to shout out my coaches. They made me who I am. They made me strong. They made me want more from life. They made me push myself so I can actually accomplish something cool. Okay. So I'll be last. I'm the baby draft. Coach kind of went in on me, but it's cool that we have that relationship that you can do that and I'm not offended. It really did start out, I was a wiry kid. I had a lot of muscle on me. And I was injury prone, so that track for me was really hard, but he taught me that if you want it enough, you can have it. And he instilled that tenacity in me. And that's a skill set that I can take with me into life. And I'm going to use that as a better of the two colleges in New Mexico and MSU. And I'm going to pursue a dual major. That's going to be in aerospace and mechanical engineering. And hopefully that takes me to the places I want to go. But out of that wouldn't be possible without a good mentor and a good coach, and that's Coach Henry.
Yeah, I didn't mention with these guys, and we talked about academics, but these three guys, when it comes to academics, are pretty much off the charts as well. They do work at it, as we talked about what they did in track, but academically, you can't really get any better than these three guys. They were all, well above 4.0 students. A couple of them were, what were you in class?
I was 11.
These guys are very, very accomplished, and it's excited and proud we are of what they've done in athletics. Their futures are bright because of how smart they are and how well they do in school. So a lot to be said about these guys. But thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
I just want to thank you all, gentlemen, for coming. And, the state track meet was going on same time as state baseball. And so I made an appearance of both. That you're very right, Coach Henry. It's a lot easier to figure out where you are in baseball than you are in track. And it's even hard to figure out where you sit with track. Trying to find the Rio Rancho group, the Cleveland Storm, the Rio Rancho community. And, but it was a fabulous event, and we appreciate you and your players, your runners, all that you do, and another incredibly successful year. So the last comment is, I guess you really exemplify what a lot of people have said. And, state championships come from teamwork, not just an individual outstanding person, but how you pull together as a team. And sometimes even a good team will outperform star athletes sometimes because they work so hard together. And your teams have always been recognized for that sense of being a tight, united group. And again, congratulations on another great, wonderful year.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we have one more commendation. So for our last commendation will be our PNM Fuel Efficiency Award, and Patrick Martinez, our Executive Director of Facilities, will present.
Kind of hard to follow all that.
I know.
Thank you, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. So the facilities department is really taken charge of, as Dr. Cleveland said, energy efficiency. And over the past few years, starting really heavily with our bond projects, the HVAC projects, we've really worked hard to not only upgrade HVAC to be more efficient, but as a part of that, we have been taking advantage of that to upgrade lighting as well. So that's a really big load on a lot of our schools, as well as the older units. So that's been a huge help in energy efficiency. And as a part of that, we've taken advantage of the PNM rebate program, which not only is for existing buildings and retrofits, it's new construction as well. So Joe Harris Elementary and Shining Star Preschool also took advantage of this program to be able to get some sort of incentive to really, work on the energy efficiency. In addition, we have also worked on what they call building tune-up. So we do retro commissioning projects. We've done one at our Rio Rancho High School, and we will be doing one at Cleveland High School, as well as a handful of elementary schools. And that really helps us understand kind of how our systems are working and how we can make them more efficient, and areas that we need to maybe replace or fix. So that's really been a goal, and so it's really been great to be able to take advantage of this program. They have a really good point of contact that really helps us work through these applications. Our maintenance department has done a really good job with taking advantage of retrofitting. With a limited budget, we've been able to do all of our parking lot lights, turning them to LED wall packs, which are exterior lights. as well as we've started doing our restrooms, and we've gotten a good portion of the district done with starting with restrooms. So we're really just trying to prioritize and pick areas, given the limited budget, to upgrade and really help these schools be more energy efficient. And then on top of that, again, going back to, SB9, how important that is, really prioritizing where we can make some of these, stretch that dollar a little bit further. And a big part of this incentive program is we actually get funding back after these applications and we're approved and we're awarded, which really just goes back into additional LED upgrades, HVAC fixes, things like that. So we're really lucky that PNM has been able to be so helpful and work with us on this. So that's really why we've really worked hard to take advantage of this as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Cleveland, do you want to add anything?
Just appreciation for the work that you have done. And one of the things that the meeting PNM shared with us is that we've got really some serious concerns about our grid and about our capacity in the immediate future. And that's particularly compounded by the shift to electric vehicles and some other new technologies. And so that, again, really emphasizing the importance of utilizing our resources as carefully as we can. So I appreciate your hard work in that area, and we believe that we can move even further in that area, but not without leadership. And so we appreciate your leadership and that of your staff in generating this particular recognition this year.
Yeah. And we hope to, as Dr. Cleveland said, bringing on a dedicated person to really dive into it and focus on that, I think is just going to only make it so much better and really take our district to, really to be able to address the concerns with, the grid issues and power in general. It's become a concern, but I think that we are on a path to really trying to take charge of it.
That's good. That's good to hear. I mean, and it's always changing, the technologies that come out and all those things. It really is something that we need to keep up on. I'm really happy to hear about all this. So thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else from the board want to share anything?
Just want to say
Thanks.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Thanks, appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you. All right. And our next is a report. It's our staffing update. Michael Baker, our Chief Operations Officer, will present.
Good evening, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the school board. So this evening, I just want to outline some of the additional personnel that's in next year's budget, which is starting real soon here. And so I did give a kind of a brief overview of the new budget, in which I did speak about personnel. I had it kind of lumped together. And what you're looking at is kind of a better breakdown of what job title that is and kind of where that individual would be working. And so if you look at the chart, you'll see that I broke it into 3 different categories. The first being teachers, the second, the employees where they're working, that it would be school sites, and then thirdly would be district office. So the first column, you'll see essentially that in next year's budget, we're looking at hiring just under 53 teachers. And those teachers will be disseminated throughout the district in our schools. The next group, although not teachers, directly work in the schools and obviously facilitate that learning process. So for example, we have counselors, APs, custodians, etc., for a number of 33 and a half. And those, again, are individuals that work inside the schools. And then the third column, you'll see there, district office employees, and you'll see 4. So the first group, teachers, so 58% of the new personnel that we're hiring will be teachers. The next category, as far as other job titles being in the schools, is at 37%. But when you take teachers in the school sites, the new employees that will actually be inside the schools, that's at 96%. And you have 4% that will be at district office. But I also want to mention, I know sometimes it's not, we want all of our employees to really help the schools. In this particular situation, when you look at district office, these positions truly do help the schools. And let me go over some of those positions. For example, the investigators, they will actually be doing the in-depth investigations that normally a principal may be doing. So that type of work that the principal or the AP would have to do as far as investigating, let's say a Title IX situation, now would reside with the investigator that's housed at a district office. So that work really is taken off the plate of the principal or another individual. The records specialist that will be housed in the legal department. And as you know, we are getting hit with a lot of IPR requests. And so the legal department, they've been really handling a lot of those. But if they were not there to handle those, where would that go? It would go on wherever the records may be. And it very well could be the school sites, because that's where a lot of the information is originated for. So once again, this saves the schools and or the principal's time where they don't have to necessarily gather that information. Data engineer, as you know, that our network is very, very important to us, not just here at district office, but throughout the schools. And we need that position in order to ensure that our network is up and running efficiently and effectively in our schools. And then lastly, I think Patrick really talked about it well as far as energy manager. Although we have every year we look to save energy costs, and when we bring that energy cost down, that's more money that again we could funnel in the school sites. We've done very well these last few years in regard to saving energy, specifically HVAC units and LED, and again that's savings that we can put in the school site. So that's really a synopsis of looking at next year. And as you know, we had a pretty good budget year this year. We really were able to enhance personnel in particular. Anyway, at this time, I think I'd like to stand for questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Clement, do you want to add anything before we go to questions?
Let the board.
Okay.
And then I have some things, but I think it'd be good to let the board go first.
Okay, Gary Tripp.
I thank you for this. I'm concerned because, and this is what I'm gathering is last year when we approved the budget, we approved 12 instructional coaches, an extra $1 million from operational dollars to materials, reading materials, and then the density factor where we have to take money from the operations and go into the into taking it out of the classroom. And so this year during the finance, what I gathered was 65 teachers to help with the lack of the early release days. And so I've been looking at the openings, and I saw new instructional coaches at the middle school level. So when I see these numbers and I see instructional staff 15 or STEM 11, are those actual classroom teachers or are they people outside of the classroom? Because I was under the impression that 65, when we passed the budget, that 65 was going to really help at the elementary level in the classroom. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to wrap my head around, who's in the classroom and I guess I'm just going to say this. We may need to look at some data if instructional coaches are really moving the needle when it comes to improving our scores in the classroom, because we're all accountable to that number 50th they keep throwing in us about being 50th in the nation. So those are some of my concerns, and thoughts.
President Albert, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. So maybe we can have a separate topic specifically about instructional coaches and what their impact is on schools. In this particular year, what we did is there was a real emphasis on the elementary schools, and largely because of the early release. So we had to put we had to funnel the resources there because of the early release in order to get the teachers that planning time that they need, that they're losing for the Wednesdays. So that's one of the bigger reasons why all those resources were specifically funneled towards the elementary schools.
Could we elaborate a little bit on the STEM positions and what they do?
I would think.
Janet, I would assume could address that.
I'm waiting. President Galmore, members of the board. So we just met today, actually, Joy Morales, Terry Meyer, and we met today talking about what that position is going to look like. So it will filter in as all the elementary schools for another related arts rotation. We'll be able to ensure that every elementary teacher gets a planning period every day, which I don't think we've ever been able to guarantee before. We purchased with our extended learning money something called Sam's Lab, and we'd be happy to bring that and show you what it is. But it embeds computer science, and it blends really well with our NGSS standards. And so Terry and a couple ed techs are working together to align what we purchased with the math kits that we purchased a few years ago. And those will be our two main sources of curriculum for next year. And then also, those both align really well with Common Core state standards. And so we'll be able to enhance what we're doing in our reading program as well. So we're really excited. And Terry's been working with an ed tech to kind of map out what that's going to look like next year. So that's the STEAM lab or STEM lab. The counselors are up there as a support, but on some of the campuses, they will be part of that rotation. So we will have 2 counselors at every site now. They won't be in the classroom all day, but where we have larger classroom sizes, they will take a turn in that rotation. If they're not in the rotation, they will be providing direct lessons to students with our Character Strong curriculum. We have a lot of, with attendance being a priority, we hear a lot of concerns from parents regarding bullying or cyberbullying. So this gives us the opportunity to make sure that our counselors are providing proactive lessons instead of constantly responding to the needs on the campus. So although they won't be in the rotation every day, we've worked with Sherry and Mariah and the counselors to figure out what that can look like on the school campus to ensure that kids are getting those structured lessons, hopefully prior to some of these incidences that we're seeing in the school. So those 2 positions are both going to help directly with students. And I would be happy to come together another time and talk about what the instructional coaches are doing at the elementary school and what Renee and Stephanie are looking at for secondary, because I think it'd be really helpful to see what it looks like and how much it supports teachers in their practice, and then how much that improves classroom. So I'd be more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Jana? She has the best son ever. I just have to throw that in there. But
I guess I've added this up though, and we've got 52.75. And my recollection is the same as Mr. Tripp's, that there were going to be 65 new teachers. Where did the other 15 go? Or
Yeah, I'm sorry. What
13.
I did when I lumped positions together and I presented the original budget, and I believe what I did was, like Janet said about the counselors. So when you move the counselors over there, and I know a few other positions, we are still tweaking the actual numbers, and we really probably won't have the exact number until school starts, because we're still enrolling students. But that 11, when you bring that 11 to almost the 53, we're right there. The other thing that we do administratively is we're projecting what our student enrollment is, and our allocations essentially are are really based on student numbers. And of course, we try to go beyond that. The other thing we do is we came up with this thing, we call it the bench. And so we give the schools their allocations according to the number of students that are enrolling. And then we keep some in reserve as well. So if for some reason the enrollment goes up higher than our projections, we have budget to put a couple of teachers here or there. So that's where the 65.
Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Okay. Jeff Morgan, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Mike, I have to talk to you. I just want to know, just want to get an idea as to where all these positions going. That's what I wanted to see. We don't have time today, but what school they're going to, that's kind of what I want to take a look at.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I could give the information.
Yeah, just shoot an email to me if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Just a
fine.
breakdown. That's fine. Just a breakdown of.
Yeah, breakdown, because, yeah.
Okay.
And then the other question I have is, you say this 11 is going to be counselor teacher, right? Okay. All right. Good enough.
Okay. And Jessica Tyler, do you have anything?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Dr. Cleveland.
Let me just clarify a couple of things. That, with the counselors, what will happen is that they will actually be in classrooms teaching students part of the day. And we have a counseling curriculum that we are working with our students on, and this will guarantee that all students have opportunity for those classes. But the other benefit of that, as Jana Chenalta shared, is that it helps create enough specials that our elementary teachers will finally get a planning period. They've not had a planning period since the start of this district 29 years ago. And our secondary have always had that benefit. So this will give them an opportunity to have planning every day. They'll be losing that Wednesday. So it's a little bit of an increase in time for planning, but at least they get it every day. The other is, of course, they will also back up the other needs that students have in terms of counselors. And I think we heard pretty clearly from the board a pretty strong desire to see us improve social emotional support for our kids. And we just can't generate enough counselors to do that all one-on-one. We just don't have the money. And we don't have the counselors. So by having some of these group counseling lessons and things, that it allows them to reach more children, while still reserving at least one counselor for the one-on-one when it's needed. And I think that we will help with things like helping students learn how to self-regulate their behavior. And as strange as it sounds, how do you act in class, and how do you deal with conflict? And when you're angry and upset, how do you deal with that? We've got a lot of children that have a lot of needs right now, a lot of trauma. And so this is to try to provide them that support. But I think we heard very clearly the board wanted more social emotional support for kids. And this is a step to try to do that. We have very large elementary schools, and they have only one counselor. And that one counselor is really struggling to meet the needs of all of the kids. The other, I wanted to just mention, and Jerry can add if he wants anything or whatever. I would want you to remember that the diagnosticians, psychologists, social workers, some of the other special needs areas are a direct response to the state saying we have to increase our efficiency in identifying and placing children with disabilities by 100%. And so that means we've got to do it twice as fast as we're doing now. So we have to have more personnel in order to be able to make that happen. And so that's reflective of a new state regulation. And it's not one I argue. We want to get our children through and placed more rapidly. If they need services, we want to get them as soon as possible. Some of you have shared concerns with me that parents have brought to you about how long it's taking to get their child services. So we're really hoping this is going to pick up the timeline, so that once a child is identified, we can get that child either placed or not placed, but we will know in a much shorter period of time. And then the last comment has to do with the interpreter. And I think you've seen in a lot of our demographic information that we've shared with you that we have an increasing number of children whose first language is Spanish. and the need to be able to communicate well with those families. And so we actually need an interpreter to be able to help meet those needs, particularly in the area of special education. So I just, the other last comment is we really do believe over time, and that's the expectation, that the energy manager will actually pay for itself and save us money. If we do a good job on that really should be a revenue neutral position. And we think that we would get there, maybe not the first year, but shortly thereafter, that position should in fact pay for itself. And you did hear in Scott Leppelman's presentation the urgency of the data engineer. So it's a small percentage that we're adding at the district, and I think we really made a conscious effort to do what we thought the board really wanted us to do, and that is to place most of those resources at the school level. And I think the budget does reflect that. So we appreciate your questions and your comments, and we'll try to get that additional information back to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, we'll now go to approve the consent agenda.
This is Noreen Scott. I move to approve the consent agenda.
It's Board Member Jeff Morgan, a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Noreen Scott and a second by Jeff Morgan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving into our business. Our first item is a report. The Rio Rancho Public Schools Board of Education met in a closed executive session on Monday, June 26th, 2023, for the purpose of discussing limited personnel matters as permitted under Section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. The matters discussed were limited to those specified in the notice of a separate closed meeting. Our next item is to consider the approval of resolution and proclamation of Rio Rancho Public Schools District School Bond Election. Lauren Hatch, our Chief Counsel, along with Eric Harrigan from RBC Capital Markets, will be presenting.
Thank you, Madam President. Lauren Hatch, Chief Counsel for the district. I've got two gentlemen up here with me to be addressing items B and C on the agenda. I've got Eric Harrigan, who you all know, the district's financial advisor, and then Chris Muirhead, who is with the Modro firm, who is our bond counsel. And basically what we're doing here is the board has to adopt proclamations to get our GO, or general obligation bonds, on the ballot this year so that we can sell bonds into the future, and also to seek the continuation of the tax to fund SB 9 activities. And I'd like to invite Mr. Muirhead to come up and talk about the resolution, if that's okay. And then Eric's here to answer questions as well.
That'd be great.
Good evening, Chris Muirhead with the Model Firm, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland. So yes, we're bond counsel to the district to help you with all your public finance needs, bonds, taxes, and the like. So as was mentioned, the first resolution in front of you is for the GO bonds for up to $80 million. And what this does is shows your approval to submit the question to the Sandoval County Clerk to put on the November 7th general election. All of your GO bonds, and this isn't just for school districts, it's for municipalities, counties, and state, require voter approval from qualified electors within the district. And so what this does is it does put the GO bond amount at $80 million. The question is written as broadly as possible under the statute and constitution to give the board and the district maximum flexibility to decide once it passes how they would like to use those bond proceeds. There are internal revenue restrictions and the like that we help you with. But in terms of statutorily, this is drafted as broadly as possible to give you maximum discretion and flexibility. It will just be positive. Once it passes, you would have 4 years to issue the full $80 million. You're not obligated to issue the full 80, although that's expected that you would need to do that or would want to do that. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. In this resolution is also 2 board positions, which are up the 2nd and 4th positions. This has already been provided to Sandoval County, but this is the board's opportunity to officially give them the direction to say, these are the 2 positions up for election. So that's really it in a nutshell, a short but meaningful resolution.
Great, perfect. Let me see if anyone has any questions. Any questions from the board? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. So do we want to go on this first one? Okay. So I'll go for a motion on item B.
This is Board Member Jeff Morgan. I'm making a motion to approve the approval of the resolution and proclamation of the Rio Rancho Public Schools District School Bond Election.
Board Member Gary Tripp, I second.
Okay. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland. The second resolution, same general concept, that this is directing the Sandoval County Clerk to put this on the general election for November 7th. This would be the continuation of your SB 9 financing, which is currently imposed at 2 mils per thousand of taxable value. The question as presented on page 3 is again as broad as what's permitted under the statute. This tax is currently in place. It is not increasing anybody's property taxes. It is a continuation. Every 6 years, this tax is up for renewal or rejection, but being positive renewal. And so this just directs the Sandoval County Clerk to put this on the ballot November 7th.
Okay. Any questions from the board on this one?
No, this is Secretary Noreen Scott. I move to approve resolution and proclamation of Rio Rancho Public School District, school capital improvement tax election, SB 9.
Board Member Tyler, I'll second.
Okay. All right. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us in this?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion that needs to be had around it? Or Dr. Cleveland, you want to
Just
add
thank
anything?
you for,
Yeah.
for bringing this, and
Thank
again,
you.
to reemphasize how very important this election is to the school district. And the community will be giving you a lot of information on both of these items, and hope that you will support our school district as you have over the past 29 years. So again, thank you very much for your hard work.
Yeah, thank you so much. We want to
Thank
thank
you.
Eric Harrigan. You did so much for us, and we really appreciate it. So thanks for coming out and sitting through a long board meeting, both of you. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Muirhead. Yeah, well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. For item D, it's going to be our second reading of proposed changes to policy 1003 open enrollment. Sherry Carver, our Executive Director of Student Services, will present this.
Well, good evening, President Galbraith, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. This is the second reading of School Board Policy 1003, open enrollment. And just as a recap, the changes in red comply with the requirements of Senate Bill 120 that was passed recently by the legislative session. The changes in the revision intends to allow open enrollment flexibility for children of military families prior to the family's physical relocation to our boundary or our school zone. With that, are there any questions?
Any questions from anyone?
I move to approve policy 1003 open
No,
enrollment.
that's what I was going
She's
to do.
gonna
Go
do
ahead,
it.
Noreen.
Okay.
I thought you had a question. I'm sorry.
No.
Then Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second.
We have a motion by Noreen Scott and a second by Jeff Morgan. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us?
Yes, ma'am. Can you tell me who,
Yeah, so the motion was by Noreen Scott and the second is by Jeff Morgan.
yeah, you guys move too fast.
Sorry.
Okay, here we go.
Yes.
Vice President, yeah. Vice President Morgan.
I see you struggling.
Yes.
Board Member Tripp.
Yes.
Board Member Tyler.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
And President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, this just simply puts into policy what's been our district's practice always with our military families.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, our next will be a first reading of proposed changes to policy 903 student and staff health wellness. Noelle say your last, say it. Caceres, our Director of Student Services and SAFE, will present. I'm always nervous when I'm up here and everyone's name just goes out. So thank you.
So good evening, President Galbraith, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. I'm here tonight for the first reading of updates for Board Policy 903. And this addresses student and staff health and wellness. For the recommendation from the BED after reviewing our policy, they noted that we have a good policy, but we still needed to provide additional evidence in several areas to show that their implementation. So they even made suggestions. The areas that needed more evidence statements were physical education, physical activity, school meals, health education, and staff wellness. As you're able to see in the notes in the red, there were 8 red line statements that were added. And with these updates, our policy will meet all PED requirements. For example, we have adaptive PE that is available to all students where appropriate, such as students on an IEP. The district wellness policy includes a plan to address the behavioral needs of all students in the educational process by focusing on students' social and emotional well-being, that being our Character Strong curriculum and us having counselors in the school. So at this time, I'll stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining some of those. Any questions from the board on this one? Go ahead, Gary Tripp.
Just have one that just popped in my head, and that is sites that do not have readily available services for kids as far as nutrition, like don't have a cafeteria. Is that just an added challenge to meet the needs of following the student wellness? I just thought about that now. I mean,
Like at Shining Stars, they have snacks coming into the school, and they are still nutritionally, valued and things like that.
and Cyber Academy does. Okay, thank you. Yep. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Jessica Tyler, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Did you want to add anything? Okay.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, our next, we should have put Sherry's right next to each other. So you could just- Next is our first reading of proposed changes to policy 1015 immunizations, and Sherry Carver will present.
Good evening again, President Galbraith, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. Just a shout out to Noelle. She's done a great job as the director, and I'm losing her to Shining Stars Preschool. She's going to be the new principal there. So
She's excited. Look at that.
This is the first reading of a revision to policy 1015 immunizations. As Kim said, we just needed a shot in the arm for this policy. The revisions we are suggesting to this policy meet the new requirements that follow Senate Bill 81 that was recently passed. As you are aware, when you read the policy, there are 2 exemptions to enrolling in school without immunizations. One is for religious reasons and one is for medical reasons. This policy change that we're suggesting expands who can certify the medical exemptions of school immunizations to include physician assistants and nurse practitioners. And that's what was suggested in the Senate Bill 81. So you'll see subparagraph A contains that verbiage and that language just to include those two people, the physician assistant and certified nurse. I also want to point out, just for those who are listening and our parents, that these 2 exemptions must be approved by the Department of Health, and it's for a period not to exceed 9 months. And we give parents a full school year, so they have to get these exemptions in every year to our health offices and our nurses if they are requesting exemption. The other things are just some cleanups to that policy to make it read better, in our opinion.
Okay. Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you. I think we're good. Thank you so much. So we'll have a vote on those next meeting.
And I have to give credit to Lynn Wheeler for working on this. She's here with me tonight. She does an excellent job as a director of nursing.
I know. I think during the pandemic, we got used to seeing our nursing director all the time, and we don't get that. Let's not have a pandemic to do that. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Item G is to consider approval of RFP number 2023-019 FAC CMR contractor for the CTE building renovations, which is exciting. Michael Madrid, our purchasing director, and also Patrick Martinez, our executive director of facilities, will be presenting.
Board President Galbraith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, and members of the board. Before I get started, I'd like to ask Mr. Baker to come up and give a little clarification before we go through the actual agenda item.
President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the school board. So, we're excited to get to this point in the process. And I know earlier, I think I misinformed or didn't totally inform Dr. Cleveland that the CMAR, who is part of Bradbury and Stam, are kind of one. And it was my understanding that we would go out to bid again, contractor. But what will happen is that the subs will be bidded out, not the actual contract. So I apologize for that. The contractor will be Bradbury
throughout.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news. That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have a question? Do you understand that, board member?
I understand it, but are we asking them to value engineer it and then do it and then build it? Is that what I'm understanding?
So what we're going to do is we hire the CMR, which is Bradbury Stam. They'll work with the design consultant. They will value engineer. When they get to the point that the specifications are ready to solicit some numbers from the subcontractors, they'll participate in that process as well.
So we're asking them to figure out where we could save money, and the very people who will be building the building?
That is correct. Patrick, you want to give some?
Thank you, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. That is correct. So the way it works is really they're brought on at an early stage to really help guide the design. What happens typically is a design bid build, and that's where you design it, you bid it, and then you build it. What happens then is you don't really know what you have some basic estimates, but you don't really know what the cost is going to be until you bid it. And so this process really kind of brings them in at a very early stage, not only to value engineer, but really help guide the design so that we're making decisions based on budget, so that we're not just kind of coming up with ideas and hoping that, that's going to be the best. They have real-time knowledge of the market and kind of trends that they're seeing that they can help us really make decisions early on, so that when it comes time to get a final bid from the subcontractors, we have a better understanding of what that cost is going to look like.
What will be their percentage of the override on each of the subcontractors?
So what they do is they take a percentage right now of the overall projected MAC, which is maximum allowed voltage. And right now they're sitting at about 7% of that is what their fee comes out to. And so what they do is that once we've negotiated a guaranteed maximum price, that's where they'll base a lot of their fees off of during that bidding process with the subs.
So what is the advantage for them to get us a lower or a better price?
Really what it helps with is more so a successful project. It really gives them the incentive to make sure that they can deliver upon a price. So if we bid it out and let's say with a lot of lead times and that are unknowns, we can catch a lot of that at the early. So what happens sometimes is we can actually do early bid packages where we may start work a little bit earlier instead of having to wait till the design is 100% done to complete the project. And given the really tight schedule of this project, this will really help us not only control the budget a little bit better, but it'll help us to start work without having the construction documents 100% complete. So we can start early phases of the project while we're still under design.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If I may just add one element to that. So, what has happened really post-COVID is the price of construction has gone through the roof. And so the problem that we have is that, we went out for a 2020 bond anticipating what we were going to spend on this project, but now the costs have gone crazy. So in this format, we get to control our costs and we get to get a maximum price from the contractor. This way, we know that we'll be able to get the project done and we will be able to get it done within budget.
Okay. And any other questions from anyone? Okay.
Let me just ask one question. Are you confident that this process protects the owner? In terms of the process, are you confident that this process will do that?
This is a new process to Rancho. As Patrick mentioned, we typically do design, bid, build. And I think the challenge that we run is the market. We don't really understand what changes could happen in the market as far as price, even product availability. And because the contractor, the design consultant are working together, we can ensure that they're working those numbers around our budget. Typically, if we try to value engineer at the back end, it's a lot more expensive than trying to value engineer at the front end.
And one of the advantages of this process is that generally, though, there's always exceptions, but generally, this process expedites the construction process considerably.
It can, as Patrick mentioned, you can start some of those processes early while the documents are still being drafted and the information is still being gathered.
And if I may add to that, so what happens sometimes, during the construction process is you have the architectural firm that may spec certain materials or a certain design. And so they're kind of looking for something a little bit different. They may be looking for aesthetic value, where we're looking for more practical value. So a CMAR will be able to say, for example, well, you can do the same thing, get the same look for a lot cheaper. For example, if you look behind you, you have a wood panel. But if that was real wood or real oak or mahogany, something like that, it would cost you about 5 times the amount. And so the architect may actually, spec real wood or mahogany or something that's really expensive. But a CMAR would be able to come in and say, well, you can get the same look for a fraction of the cost. And so, after I retired from the city and went into work in construction, I saw a lot of this where the architects would spec, very high priced materials. And that's where a lot of the savings is in materials. And now we don't only are faced with material costs increasing, but also lead times. So in this process, we will hopefully start the project early. The demo likely will start earlier than if we were to just award it to a contractor. So we potentially could actually start demo possibly in October.
Okay, thank you. And I guess my last comment is, one thing that we do always look at was certainly the bid price is paramount. I mean, we look at that, but I know also in the process, as you look at the work history of the various contractors, and so I know that was also taken into consideration. We do have a lot of experience over the years with Bradbury Stam, and it's generally been a very good experience in working with them. So I assume that was also a factor as you looked at the performance capabilities of the contractors.
Yes, absolutely.
And
So what I'd like to go through is the procurement.
I'm sorry.
Here, hold on one second. We've got Lauren Hatch has something to add.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland, I think there's one more element as I was listening to the discussion that probably needs to be explained. And that is the procurement method is called construction manager at risk. And what the at risk part means is you brought this construction manager in up front to get the best project developed, to get realistic pricing for it. And then there's a guaranteed maximum price. And then the construction manager has to build it for that price. And if they don't, they're on the hook for the extra cost. That's the advantage of it, if that makes sense. It's a very common method that's used. It's an alternative delivery method. The district built Shining Stars preschool using this method. And I believe Bradbury was the construction manager.
Yeah, that's Bricon. That was Bricon.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bricon.
Yeah.
C&M almost exclusively uses this procurement method.
So the incentive that is there, if I'm correct, the incentive that is there is that if they don't value engineer it and get it at the right price to get things done for, then they would be financially responsible for those overages. Right.
Okay. That helps. Thank you. And thanks for explaining that a little bit.
We'll actually
a little
provide
bit
some
more.
law that covers the financial assurance that it'll have.
Okay.
So I'd like to start is, the recommendation for this afternoon is an award be issued to Bradbury Stam, who was the highest ranked offer. I just want to start out a little bit since it was kind of mentioned. So Bradbury Stam was the contractor that built Joe Harris. A very successful project, probably at least since the time I've been here, the largest construction project that I put out, and they were very successful with that. Bradbury Stam is also the largest contractor in the state of New Mexico. But we do take other factors into consideration as part of the evaluation, their staffing capacity, past performance, and their ability to perform. A little bit of background on the solicitation. This was done on behalf of the facilities department, a little bit of the scope of work. This is to revise or renovate a new career technical education facility. It's approximately assisting 475 Rio Rancho and C&M students. The facility will be a model blend, high school and community college academics. It will house, it is housed, excuse me, at the call center at 7001 Zenith Boulevard. And it will address general classrooms, faculty, administration spaces, full service kitchen, vocational trades, laboratories, things like that. The square footage is roughly 74,227 feet. As part of the solicitation, we received 5 responses. Responses were received from Bradbury Stam, Bricon Corporation, Enterprise Builders, Franklin Construction, and HB Construction. This is a multi-step procurement. Step 1 was the statement of qualifications. All 5 met the requirements for the statement of qualifications. Step 2 was the pricing component. And unfortunately, we didn't get any pricing from Bricon or Franken Construction. So I want to kind of clarify the steps that we go through to ensure that everybody's clear on the information that we're asking for. The project manual that we solicit, we identify a sequence of events or a procurement schedule. The procurement schedule talks about what is their deadline for asking questions, product substitutions, addendas. We also talk about the deadlines for uploading the statement of qualifications and uploading the step 2, which is the pricing. We have a mandatory pre-proposal meeting. At that pre-proposal meeting, the agenda that's discussed copies the exact sequence of events onto the agenda, and we go through that sequence of events once again. And as part of that discussion, it was decided that we would allow the contractors an additional week to upload the pricing component. So we still gave them another week. We published that as part of an addenda. So I just want to clarify that every effort to at least assist the contractors in ensuring compliance is given to them. And then we also have a Q&A portion as part of that process. With that, I'll kind of just stand for questions. All the contractors out of Albuquerque, and what we did is we shortlisted the contractors based on statements of qualifications and the pricing portion of it. We conducted interviews. We scored those interviews, and Bradbury Stam was the highest ranked based off of those 3 pieces of evaluation: statement of qualifications, pricing, and interviews. And with that, I stand for questions.
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks for all that explanation to start us off. But do we have any questions? Gary Tripp, Jeff Morgan?
I just got one for my good friend, Mr. Baker. This building is 74,227. I'm looking for 773 square feet, Mike. You told me this building was 75,000. I'm looking for that. When you get a chance, you and I can talk about it. Thank you so much. Just give me a hard time.
Not as serious.
I know. I was like, oh no. That's
It's
good.
okay. It's
That's
okay.
good. Noreen Scott, any further questions from you? And Jessica Tyler, do you have any further questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, Dr. Cleveland, anything you want to add? Okay. So with that, we can go for a motion.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion for the approval of RFP number 2023-019-FAC Seymour Contractor for the CTE building renovations.
Board Member Gary Tripp, I'll second.
We have a motion by Jeffrey Morgan and a second by Gary Tripp. And Kim, will you take a roll call vote for us?
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Secretary Scott.
Yes.
Board Member Tripp.
Yes.
Board Member Tyler.
Yes.
And President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you so much. Very excited to get this rolling. Okay, our next is to consider the approval of Southwest Food Excellence, our SFE contract amendment number 6, adjustment of fixed meals costs for school year 22-23 per New Mexico Public Education Department request. Once again, Michael Madrid, our purchasing director, and also David V. Hill will be here to present.
For President Galbraith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board, this amendment was really drafted based on a memorandum that New Mexico Public Education Department issued to entities that are administering food services. The memo is dated April 10th, 2023, and it really provides some guidelines and instruction on how to adjust the meal cost based on the unprecedented increased costs that impact food service management companies. The recent clarification from USDA permits an additional adjusted consumer price, or a CPI, to offset the costs incurred by food service management companies for school years 22-23. Public Education Department permits this adjustment, and they solicit consideration by entities to assist those food service management companies to offset the costs, the escalating costs for managing food service programs.
Okay. Any questions from anyone on the board?
No.
Jessica, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
You want
Board Member Gary Tripp, I'll make a motion to approve the Southwest Food Excellence Contract Amendment number 6 and the adjustments for the 2022-2023 per New Mexico Public Education Department request.
This is Noreen Scott. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Gary Tripp and a second by Noreen Scott. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us, please?
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Secretary Scott.
Yes.
Board Member Tripp.
Yes.
Board Member Tyler.
Yes.
And President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, for item I, consider the approval of 2324 IDEA application. Jerry Reeder, our Executive Director of Special Services, will present.
President Galbraith, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland, and I want to submit to you tonight the IDEA and IDEA pre application. The first part is that this money must only be used to pay the excess cost. And so I want to thank the finance department, David V. Hill. They have to do an extraordinary amount of work to prove that we are doing this through our excess cost. It probably takes them a few hours. They have to review every part of the budget, and they have to do it for elementary and secondary and show how much we spend in each area. So I appreciate that work that they do. And this year, the PED couldn't tell us when the application was coming out, but they gave it to us, and then they gave us 1 week to submit it. But they did it in 3 phases. So then a few weeks later, they didn't tell us when it was coming out. They gave phase 2, and then they gave us a week to submit it. So, and then phase 3 is supposed to be taking it to the board meeting. This morning I was already getting emails. When are you going to submit all your signatures? So I'll get them tonight at the board meeting. So But I just wanted to give you, when Dr. Cleveland was mentioning, we use it to supplement our funds rather than supplant, kind of made me start thinking about how much money we use in operational funds over the year versus federal funds. And I'm going to give you a little piece of that in a little bit. And it must be not used to reduce our maintenance of effort. So that's the amount we spend out of our operational funds. So we can't say, well, Jerry, we want you to put in an extra $1 million so that we spend $1 million less. But when I give you these other numbers, you're going to go, oh, that what we receive in federal funds does not compare to what we spend in operational. So just 10 years ago so this year on this application, we're receiving $4.2 million. And in operational, what we spent this year is just a little over 40 million. And that 40 million goes to, it's all salaries. So it's the salaries for teachers, education assistants, ancillary providers, and ancillary contractors. But in 2013-14, we received only 2.8 million in IDEA. And that year we spent about $15.5 million. So in 10 years, we've over doubled our amount that we spend out of operational. And it's only increased about 1.4 million in IDEA. And that 1 million has only been over the last couple of years. Since I've been doing this, it's always hovered around slightly above or below 3 million. So, and that's been for the last, 16 years. So it hasn't gone up a lot in that time. But I just wanted to give you that quick history. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
Any questions? Gary Tripp, any questions?
No, can I make a motion?
Yeah, sure.
Make a motion to consider the approval of the 2023-24 IDEA application.
I'll second that. This is Noreen Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you take a roll call vote for us, Kim?
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Secretary Scott.
Yes.
Board Member Tripp.
Yes.
Board Member Tyler.
Yes.
And President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Jerry. Okay, our last item is to consider the approval of the superintendent's contract.
This is Secretary Noreen Scott. I would like to move approval of the superintendent's contract.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second. Thank you.
And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us, please?
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Secretary Scott.
With great enthusiasm, yes.
Board Member Tripp.
With great pleasure. Yeah.
Can I give
When I go back,
Can I go back?
Board Member Tyler.
Yes.
And President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you so much. I was
Thank
out
you
of
all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cleveland.
We thank you. Thank you for a wonderful job that you did. Thank you for getting us through COVID. And thank you for your focus on continuing to support improving our children's outcomes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, moving into our advanced planning. So July 10th, we will be is that our next meeting is July 10th? I can't believe we're already in July. Sorry, I'm like having a moment here. July 10th, regular board meeting at 5:30. The 13th through the 15th will be the leadership retreat for NMSBA and Cloudcroft. And I think everyone got those to you, right?
Yes, so I believe that Vice President Morgan and Member Tripp are attending.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. July 20th will be the Independence High School summer graduation. I will not be able to attend that. Is there another board member that will be able to go that night to the Independence High School summer graduation?
I'm planning on attending.
Are you? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. They might ask if you can say some words, I think, at that, Jessica, if you'll be okay with that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. And then July 24th will be an audit committee meeting at 4. July 30th, yes.
The audit committee meeting has been moved to
Okay.
July 31st.
Okay, Good to know.
And it will be in person. Is that correct, David? No. Oh,
Oh,
you were going to leave it on the 24th. Okay.
okay.
All right,
Cross
thank
it. Okay. And then 24th will also be a regular board meeting. The 31st, teachers and school staff will report for the 2024 school year. And then the August 3rd will be the first day of school for all grade levels. Please refer to the agenda for any other calendar option things. Are there any other advanced planning things or any questions that anyone has on what's coming up? Okay. So tonight it's a little bit different because we did our bonds and we actually have to have a motion and a second to adjourn our meeting tonight. So
This is Secretary Noreen Scott. I move for adjournment.
Board Member Gary Tripp, second.
can I do an all in favor? I have to vote on this.
Just all.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone.